What are we hearing about the possibilities of what the Bears may be looking at?
Well, Greeny, I've spoken to multiple people around the league who fully expect the Bears to add a veteran quarterback, and they will have options. They're committed to Mitch Trubisky for this year. He will likely start the year, but you could have a Ryan Tannehill situation where you add the veteran. He can step in after a few games or midseason win you some. Derek Carr is an option. I don't think the Raiders are actively trading him right now, but I expect them to listen to teams when they talk at the Combine. Marcus Mariota would be a seamless fit because he's a very similar skill set to Mitch Trubisky. And then Teddy Bridgewater, I'm told, will have a very strong market as a bridge starter for teams in transition.
All right, so then with that thought in mind, let me bring in Mike Tannenbaum, because the Mariota piece of this is the one that intrigued us because of the similarities in fit. The way that Trubisky is most effectively used is the way that Mariota plays. So when you're putting a team together, how much do you take that into account when you're deciding which quarterback you're bringing in to push Mitch Trubisky?
That's exactly right, Greedy. I think Mariota is the perfect complement to Mitch Trubisky. So if Trubisky would stumble, you could put Mariota in there. He doesn't need a lot of reps. You don't have to change the offense. It's a good fit. And one key statistic from last year is Trubisky was 30th in the league in yards per attempt, which means they do so much behind the line of scrimmage. They made a change at offensive coordinator. They added Bill Lazor, but I think Mariota is an ideal fit for that situation.
Acho, your face tells me that you might feel differently.
Come on,
Why?
Mikey, man. If Mitch Trubisky will stumble, Mariota's going to fall. I mean, Mariota last year was 2-4 for the Titans. He 59% completion percentage. Like, Mariota, he just hasn't played well in a while. And you might say it was the Tennessee Titans. Acho, what are you talking about? Then Tannehill goes in there and goes 7-3 and leads them in a playoff stretch. So I don't see how replacing Mitch Trubisky, who can be good at times when used properly, replacing him for Mariota don't make no sense.
I think it just depends on who's out there. There's a lot of, if you bring in Teddy's coming in to start, right? I think you want to, that you invested capital in him as a high pick. You want to give him another chance, but at the end of the day, they're only a couple pieces away from being a contender. Yes. So, I mean, you have to do what you have to do as a GM.
If you want to get really weird, go Jameis Winston. I expect him to either be franchise tagged or be let loose, and I'm told he expects to have suitors as a starter. I don't necessarily think it's a schematic fit, but that would make a statement. See, that's the part of this that, to go back to the question that I asked Mike Tannenbaum, is how much are you trying to have two quarterbacks who essentially do the same things in the same offense? They didn't in Tennessee when they went to Tannehill. They changed the offense entirely, and maybe they were just better suited to run that.
They did, but bear in mind, Tannehill, he played at Texas A&M. The dude played wide receiver in college for the first 3 years. Like, the dude is an athlete. The issue is, everybody hating on Trubisky as if he was the primary problem. Right. As soon as Matt Nagy, the head coach, changed things around and let Trubisky play to his strengths, he was fine. Again, I think it was Einstein who said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it too will believe it's an idiot. Something along those lines. Don't judge Mitch Trubisky by something he's not necessarily good at. That dude don't need to be climbing trees.
So philosophical by Acho. Is Mr. T still with us? I wanted to ask. Yeah. Okay, so here's my one question about Trubisky, and I know we can't look at just his feelings all the time, but he was a guy that seemingly was affected by outside noise. If you bring in somebody to really push him, do you think that's a good idea for his success?
Absolutely, Laura. At the end of the day, you have to have blinders on. You have to be tone deaf to be successful, be it a head coach, a quarterback. And if you're worried about competition, you're probably not going to be the starting quarterback of the Bears very long. And just one other point I want to address to what Acho was saying, which is in this collective bargaining agreement and in this era, it's really hard to practice two different types of offenses. So if you're committed to Trubisky and this sort of offense, even though Mariota may not be ideal, and I know he was 2-4 last year, it may give you the best chance for success in 2020 without having to change the offense. Now, look, if you say we're going to move on from Trubisky, I love Bridgewater. I like the idea of maybe Winston getting a fresh start. But once you commit to this sort of offense of all these plays behind the line of scrimmage, I think you have to stay with the same sort of offense, because in this collective bargaining agreement, it's hard to get enough reps where you could practice two different types of offense.
Yeah, it's a good and very important point. It's an offense that I never got a sense Matt Nagy really wanted to run, but if that's what's going to work, that's what they're going to do.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, more analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+. We'll see you there.